Liz's fans are like unfollowing her
This is weird to say, but I think I'm about to unfollow the Wizard Liz.
and like shooting TikToks about how, you know what, I think I'm done with her.
Her entire career has been built off of this idea, this notion that she understands men to a T. She's the prize, she's in control, she gets them to do what she wants, and most importantly, she's not one of the women that men deceive. She's not dumb enough for that, to be fooled, to be used. In fact, no man would ever dare to use someone like her because she's a high-value woman. That's why she used her platform to teach us her way, really to spread her knowledge to the less informed women that she's kind of above. And then she meets Landon, and she doesn't just meet Landon, she picks Landon. In every sense of the word, like she marries this guy in 8 months, carries his child, and like that, she's cheated on. And it happened so quickly too. It was disorienting for her to experience this, to be treated like a regular woman. The woman that she felt that she knew so much more than.
She's kind of disappointed me. She's not living up to her own standards.
I don't appreciate the fact that she bashed another girl and made fake allegations about this girl.
You know, whatever she's been preaching to us this whole time, she has betrayed all of those things.
And her talking crap about another girl is not very what she speaks about on her account. And that she is always looking out for other girls. And I don't think she also should be worried about Landon and what he does to himself. He is a grown man and can take care of himself. And I get it. Yes, you want your husband / ex / whatever to be around for your kid. But at the same time, this man needs to emotionally control himself and regulate himself. And if he can't do that with being publicly humiliated, maybe you should have not went online and exploited what he did to you. So.
And I feel like that whole thing unraveling began after Landon's ex, Abby, posted her side of the story on TikTok.
In detail with screenshots, because I have every screenshot. I have receipts.
And not only this, but then she's confronted with the fact that she's not the only one. This man did the same exact thing to another woman, and she was treated the exact same way. Like, I think the problem with Liz is that underneath these layers of outspoken feminism, there's a strong core of misogyny. It's just internalized misogyny. She kind of wants to be the chosen one, like the one who stands out, who is better than the rest, and that's why she gets the guy. But the fact that this other girl, I think her name is Anna or something, the fact that she could be treated the same way as some influencer, like that shattered her core. Her sense of self is gone.
Because before that, everyone was just feeling so bad for Liz, saying, oh my God, he cheated on you while you were 4 months pregnant. Your husband, which she was calling him my husband. But, you know, once Abby shared her side of the story and how she's been reaching out to Liz this whole time and warning her. And, you know, actually, she was like trying to be like really nice to Liz, it seems. But instead of like kind of, I feel like, you know, coming together as like in this like girl power, woman empowerment that Liz has been preaching this whole time. Instead of that, she attacks Abby, lies about her. And it turns out now that we're all, you know, digging stuff, it turns out that Liz has been lying about a lot of things as well.
And also, she took like there now was Landon feels like kind of teaming up against this Abby girl.
Right.
They're both hating on her.
Right. She's defending Landon. And they're both saying, oh, you know, kind of like victim blaming or like, I don't know, shaming, SLUD, shaming her. Meanwhile, like, you know, they're saying, oh, you know, both of them, by the way, are lying about her that, oh, she's a sugar baby. But like, first of all, according to whom, right? Because Liz herself is saying that Landon, or was saying that Landon is a lying cheater. But now all of a sudden, whatever Landon says is true. What?
I know.
Well, anyways, we'll get to all of those like kind of screenshots because Abby came with so many screenshots, all the stories. And basically, I think what happened is just when Abby shared her story, not only Landon now looks like, you know, he's a pathological liar, cheater, and abuser. Because another ex, do you know that a third ex of his came out saying that he was horrible in that relationship? Well, she said that I'm gonna put the screenshot here, but basically she says something like she doesn't want to be involved in this whole thing, so she's not gonna air out any dirty laundry. But all she says was that she kind of implies that, or she says, you know, there were just some horrible, painful, unforgivable moments that I had with Landon in our previous relationship.
But also, like, okay, when they say that, I feel a little like this Abby girl. She deleted her TikToks, but I did saw them on like other channels, and she was saying that how horrible, how abusive, how hurt she was, and like it sounded so dramatic, but all I gathered is that he lied and cheated, right? That's
6 times, like she said, 7 times she took him back, and he was physically abusive to her. And she said she had a restraining. She called the police at least once, and she had a
uh-huh.
restraining order against him.
Oh, that I didn't know. I didn't. Was it in part three of hers?
That was all in the screenshots. You know how in her, the way when she's talking, she's showing all these different
Mhm.
screenshots, messages,
Yeah,
emails.
yeah.
So if you look at that, I will, include all of those things somewhere on the screen here. You can
Mhm.
see that yes, she keeps telling him like, just stop doing this. Like, why did you, like I'm gonna call the police on you again. She said.
Was he stalking her?
Yes, yes, yes. He was.
Uh,
Yes, and in her
oh my
messages that
god.
she wrote to Liz when she tried to warn Liz about him, she did say that, I had a restraining order against him. Please be
Mm,
careful with this guy.
mm,
Yeah.
I see.
So, anyways, I
So,
think the reason why Liz started spiraling after this moment is because when you
uh-huh.
listen to Abby and she kind of outlines their timeline with all the receipts, by the way, messages,
Yeah,
emails,
yeah.
even ER visits, she kind of shows that, like, when you start listening and putting all the timeline together, Liz, who has this whole time been portraying herself as this special, smart woman, looks like, first of all, she was a rebound because Landon was obsessed with Abby for like
Mm-hmm.
more than a year at that point.
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
only reason they even met at that magical meeting at the airport in Greece, as they tried to portray it in their Q&A, Liz and Landon, the only reason that meeting happened was because Landon was stalking Abby in Europe at the time.
Wait, but then he was
And
also saying that he just got scammed
yes, who
when they
knows?
met at the airport.
Who knows what that is about? He's kind of fishy with that story as well. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, Landon was stalking, and Abby has the emails stuff and to show, and
Yeah,
witnesses,
I
by the
saw,
way.
yeah.
Yes, and so he was stalking Abby. That's why he met Liz, and not only that was that the only reason why they met. While he, because and then Liz herself invites Landon to go with her to Santorini from the airport.
Uh-huh.
And he's like,
Yeah.
okay, goes with her. And as he's with Liz, in the Q&A, they were claiming that that's when they both fell in love and decided they want to get married and have kids. He was still emailing Abby, begging her to come back to
Oh,
him.
oh no.
And again, at this point, this we know,
Uh,
by the way, from the message that Abby was sending Liz like a long time ago when she was trying to be like very helpful, by the way, very friendly. She was like, hey, honey, I just wanted you to know, like, please be careful. This is what was going on. Yeah, she was like, he was still emailing me in August. I just wanted you to know, which, by the way, I feel like it's kind of notable that at the time, Abby was not going public with this. When Liz and Landon were playing this happy couple,
fuck.
Abby didn't come publicly with that. She was just privately, quietly, like an actual true girl's girl, by the way,
Right,
trying to
right.
reach out to Liz and say, honey, listen, I just want to be helpful. Like, you can reach out to me if you want to.
But what did she say though? Did she say that okay, she has a restraining order against him, he's abusive and a stalker and a cheater,
Well, she
right?
said that,
Did she say anything else other than that?
do you mean to Liz or in those
Yeah, yeah.
videos? To
No,
Liz,
to Liz, privately.
to Liz, she's well. So the only reason she even reached out to that, and she talks about it in those videos, the only reason was that she says one day after I came back after this Europe trip home, someone calls me with a
Hmm.
no caller ID, and with the voice
Uh-huh.
of Liz that sounds like her, with a Middle Eastern accent that kind of sounds like her. Someone calls her and says, "Who is this?" And she's like, "What? You're calling me? Who are you?"
Who are
And then
you? Yeah.
and then that person says, "This is Liz."
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right. And she says, Abby says, that's when I got kind of confused and scared and was like, and didn't know what to say. And she's like, at the time, I thought, is this the moment where I should, tell her everything? But as I was thinking about it, the person hung up the phone. And so she's thinking, okay, let me reach out to her on Instagram. And that's when she says that, hey, hey, it seems like you know my number. I just wanted to let you know that, well, again, I'll post this on the thing, or maybe I should just read it if I have it, if I can find it somewhere.
I mean, I was just wondering if there was something more or less than we
All right,
already
I have it. It says,
covered.
"Hey, honey, I'm
Okay.
Landon's ex. There's some emails you should go through of him spamming me and following me to Europe. I dropped my restraining order because he stopped emailing me, but he was emailing me into August. Important information. Begging for me to come back after he or I broke up with me, and he stalked me into Ibiza. He emailed me on 2 different email accounts to myself. Just thought you should know. You also called me on my second phone number after I got back from Europe. I would go through his emails to see. Just trying to help a girl out. I'm not trying to start anything, but be careful with that boy," is what she sent to him.
Oh, okay.
I mean, to her at the time.
See. And Liz was like, fuck you.
Well, apparently, so Liz says she never saw that DM, but people online are saying that because then, when this whole cheating thing blew up, Abby again texted her saying, "I'm sorry, I just heard what happened. If you're up for it, I would love to have a conversation. I was also a victim from Landon, and we have similar stories. Landon got me pregnant as well back in November of 23. I know this is a lot to take in, but it's been weighing on my heart, and I would love to tell you my story and hopefully give you closure. You have my number. Feel free to text me." So people online are saying that because these days on Instagram, when you can't send strangers multiple DMs they have to be either following you, or there has to be some connection. So usually after the first message, it says something like, your request has been sent. And basically you have to wait for the person to
accept you.
to open, yes, to do that. So they're saying that it looks like Liz did see it because if the second and third message were sent, even though it doesn't show as read, but she must have received the message.
Right, because people were saying that she was obviously lying when she said that she never saw those messages, she's never received them. Like that's what they were talking about. That she obviously must have. Right, that makes sense. Yeah.
So who knows? Well.
Okay, all I saw was the Abby's 3-part that she has deleted, and one thing that, like, a few things that kind of stood out to me.
Well, before we get into the details, can I also just complete this thing? The reason why I think fans of Liz are turning against her at this point, because from this whole timeline, it also looks like she not only started dating this pathological liar, abuser, and cheater, but 2 months into the relationship she pursued him first. She invited him to Santorini first. And then 2 months later, they're engaged. Which, by the way, in August, he's still reaching out to Abby, begging her to come back. In September, they're engaged. And then 6 months into knowing him, she gets pregnant by him.
Yes.
And lies that they are husband and wife. She keeps calling him husband. Meanwhile, now, after this whole scandal, and we'll get into the proof of all of that, it seems that apparently they're not even married legally. And Landon has been saying this to the girls that he's been hitting on. And now he's confirmed that in his recent stories when he keeps calling her my fiance. Yeah, there's just complete mess. So basically, Liz has been lying this whole time, first of all, and also misrepresenting herself. She's like, oh, I'm this smart woman. And she was also saying, there's also old videos of her where she's like, oh man, we don't want to be single moms anymore. But then now that she's a single mom, she's like, I've always been okay with being a single mom.
There's even a video when she literally says she doesn't want to be that. Like she literally says that, like, she saw how hard it was for her mom and she doesn't, and it's like painful for her and she doesn't want to go through the experience herself. And also I think another kind of weird thing about this is that okay, she's like kind of teaching people, women, how to like find a provider, right? How to make, like, how to have a relationship where he's like taking care of you and stuff like that. It's weird for that person to end up in like abusive relationship with a cheater and liar, because I feel like, well, people will say, oh, it can happen to anyone, he's manipulating her, you know. It's like everybody can be like cheated, can get cheated on. But then how do you know? Then why, what are you talking about then? You know, like, what are you teaching then?
Right. What ground do you have to stand on? You're not
Yeah.
practicing what you're preaching at all.
Yeah.
And
So
also,
it's like
and she always tried to portray herself as this woman empowerment girl's girl and go get your money from this man kind of a person. But meanwhile, she is coming together with Landon in trying to attack Abby for being a sugar
yes.
baby, which, by the way, it seems like it's a lie because the supposed proof that Landon gave, that it's not really there. There's nothing there. And Abby said, no, that's a lie. I've never been a sugar baby. And also, when I heard that, I was like, well, coming from Liz, that is so rich to try to slut shame someone about being a sugar baby, because she herself said and admitted this on camera that she's been seeing rich Arab men in Dubai for money for years at this point, since 19 years old at least.
And also when she's saying that her boyfriend's taking care of everything, and like, I don't know, I feel like they maybe have the definitions mixed up, because like you maybe both are, and like what's the problem with that? You know, why you also are a sugar baby in a way, no?
Well, we'll get into her story later. By the way, I also wanted to kind of let people know that bots are actually I don't know who it is, but basically someone on Liz and who is, siding with them or on their team, or themselves, Liz and Landon are going down every video that talks about Abby, just, little bots, just copy pasting the same message of, oh, I don't trust this Abby girl. She just looks like, just basically smearing Abby with literally exact same copy pasted messages from accounts that have been created like a couple hours ago.
Yeah.
So they go into every video on YouTube that's like critical of Liz and like making sure to dislike and put some, critical bot comments on there. And by the way, they've been doing that to Abby as well. They've been trying to pressure her to delete those videos. And she eventually ended up, because, Landon has been, and their people have been trying to like harass her in her comments saying, delete this, delete this, delete this. Landon, as she also made a video where she said that Landon is harassing her friends and family, like her mom, dad, and brother, trying to get her to delete the video.
Landon has found my dad's phone number and my brother's phone number, and then reached out to them and was harassing them over and over all night and all morning, trying to get me to take down my videos. He also reached out to someone that I have a relationship with, that I was also in a content house with in Fort Lauderdale, asking her to persuade me to delete the video.
And he has been threatening her with lawsuits, and finally they got her to delete those videos. So those videos that we're going to be talking about are not on TikTok anymore, but of course, internet remembers everything.
They're not on her TikTok, but they are on TikTok.
Yes, and on YouTube as well. So I'm going to link those videos as well here in the comment section.
So I don't understand what's the point of like saying delete them, because they're still going to be out there on like many channels. Like she deleted them now, but I still was able to find them,
Well, I guess maybe they think that now it makes her look bad. back, like she's kind of backtracking or scared or something, or like can't prove it. I feel like that was the whole point, to just make her, to just control the narrative. By the way, both of them are like, all about control, Landon and Liz. It's so important for them to control the narrative. And I think that's when both of them just completely started spiraling when she came out with her own story.
I know. And
They
also,
lost it.
it's
They
so
both lost
weird.
it.
And somehow teamed up together against Abby and against everybody who's like against them. This is so strange.
Right. Okay, now let's go into this whole mess chronologically.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so Liz, the wizard, which by the way, weren't we saying that is she named after lizard, wizard, the cartoon character, right? That's what we were kind of guessing. And that's why I feel like not only us, a lot of people sometimes when they want to say wizard Liz, they end up saying lizard with. So I just wanted to.
Yeah.
No, you go.
But by the way, I don't know that cartoon. I don't know that character, but like I haven't seen it. But for some reason, it like it comes up like I want to say lizard Liz.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And now wizard Liz. Weird.
Yeah. So sometimes we might make a mistake and call her lizard instead of Liz. But I'll try to stick to Liz. But her real name is Fatima Lize Jabrailova. Which she doesn't like to talk about her real name. She was born in Chechnya, Russia, which she also doesn't like to talk about. She's been living in Dubai for a long time, also doesn't like to talk about. Did you notice, by the way, in all of her videos, I noticed that, I haven't watched all of her, but I remember when it comes to saying where she is, she's like, well, at this place where I'm living right now. So where I was living or where I'm living, like she just does everything to avoid saying in Dubai. Yes.
I didn't notice, no.
Because then it makes her, look like, a typical Dubai girl.
Like an escort. Yeah.
Right, which, there's so many more reasons why to be calling her that. Self-admitted, by the way, again, we'll get there. And so basically for those of you who don't know who she is, like I've seen some people describe her as this kind of a red pill version of Andrew Tate on the female side of things. Yes, because kind of like the red pill man, she keeps calling herself a high value woman. But if, for example, Andrew Tate type of guys, they call themselves high value men, and therefore I think the entitlement there is that I'm entitled to all these women's private parts or something. For her is that she says that she's a high value woman and therefore she's entitled to men's money.
And also, I feel like a parallel in both of those is that they keep like degrading and diminishing the opposite sex. They keep saying they're like nothing, they owe me, they have to do things for me. Like, I feel like that's the similarity also. Like, that's very important. Something that like bothers me. I don't like that,
Yes, a very transactional, kind of psychopathic, let me just use the other person kind of an approach to relationships. Like there's nothing about love, being best friends. Yeah, nothing about that. Just money, sex, status, that's it. Just use.
Yeah.
And apparently she gives advice to young girls about finding a rich man by manifesting.
Because you're a goddess, you're a divine goddess.
Yes. And apparently like she used to actually post videos like, a lot of her videos are deleted at this point because, whenever she would get backlash for some of her videos, she would delete them. For example, apparently there was a video she posted, but again, Reddit remembers everything, there's Reddit documents everything. And apparently there was a video by her called How to Get Rich by Dating Rich Men. Also, then they say actually the worst started when she started a podcast with her sister, actually, by the way.
Why was it the worst?
Because that's when she started, as in a course of conversation, she started opening up and being way more disclosing about being being flown out to Dubai at 19 by a rich Arab man, I feel like she kind of has been open about that in a lot of her videos, right? And that he gave her money and things like that. However, apparently in these podcasts, she was also sharing that she didn't like the guy. She wasn't attracted to the guy. She thought he was very awkward and cringe. She kept going on and on about how she thought he was ugly.
Oh no.
And she said, quote, that she said it took her, quote, a few bank transfers and Chanel bags to fall in love with him.
Oh my god. Okay. That's horrible. Just to play a devil's advocate, I'm gonna be our devil's advocate tonight.
Sure, yeah, because someone today has to be.
I know. Maybe we do like have complaints about our partners that we share with our like friends or sisters. I don't know, people that are like around us. Maybe because you're not gonna. I feel like that's usually how it happens. Like if you want to complain about this other person, um, you have like frustrations maybe about them, and then you go to like your friends to talk about it, and then like that's sort of fleeting. It's not like you always feel that way, but maybe like this time there is something annoying and like you have to vent about it. But it doesn't mean that you don't like or don't love that person at all. It's just like sometimes there are occasions when you didn't like something or you found something annoying and you have to like complain about it to somebody else. Maybe that was the case.
Could be. And also, there's this, another guy that she was also seeing that apparently she also had on the podcast. So apparently another Arab guy that she, for some reason, nicknamed Alfredo. And she also was saying how she wasn't attracted to him about him. And apparently, well, not in that podcast, but in that podcast, people also were saying how he was actually kind of rude to her. He was kind of demeaning to her, rude to her, just basically not nice to her. And so about that guy, she kind of on some podcasts with her sister, she was like, oh, I wasn't attracted to him. He was ugly. What else did she? Oh, that she was with him only for the money.
Oh, God.
Yes, but then on some other TikTok videos around the same time, she's like, I'm dating this. He's my dream man. She kept calling him my dream man. And then after they broke up, she was like, all those good things I was saying about him, I was just projecting it all. In fact, he was none of those things. It was just projection. I just made all of those things up.
Oh yeah, no, because she talks about like how when you're in a relationship as you're a couple, then like you start seeing him, like you start putting this person on a pedestal and start seeing him as this like amazing person, but it's not because he is all that, but because you see it, you see him being so great. That's kind of what she said.
I mean, yes, sure, but how many girls that are in normal relationships will say about their boyfriends that he's ugly, she's not attracted to him, she's awkward and cringe, and she's just with him because of like a few bank transfers that he made her and Chanel bags. And then she has the nerve to accuse Abby, falsely, by the way, of being a sugar baby. What? With zero evidence. So far, they haven't presented any solid evidence. The only evidence that Landon has showed was messages when they were dating Abby and him. And he was just complaining to her that, just being basically an insecure boyfriend. He was like, well, what about this guy? What about this guy? And in those messages, because Abby's a bottle girl, at the time she was a bottle girl. That's how they met, by the way. And Abby's like, dude, I'm a bottle girl. That's my job. I was, entertaining these guys for tips. They gave me money. What are you talking about? This is my job. Like, he was shaming her. And so both of them, Landon and Liz, are shaming her for her literal job. Like, the nerve, the hypocrisy.
Yeah, which again, I feel like I have to underline, like reiterate the fact that it's not, like wrong to be a sugar baby or a sex worker, or like sex work adjacent kind of career. It's fine. It's totally fine. We have nothing against that. The only problem is that when you start shaming people, and also being hypocritical about it, that's the whole problem here.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Oh,
also, when you make videos saying, like, ask him for money, he has to provide for you, he has to pay for your bills, he has to buy you like luxury bags, and then accusing somebody of, like, oh, you're a sugar, that doesn't make any sense.
yeah, when it's convenient to you. What happened to women's empowerment, by the way? Because in this situation, you would have thought that. I feel like if I was in Liz's situation and I was a normal person,
Yeah.
I would probably be like, "Oh, thanks, Abby. I should look into this. I don't want to get pregnant by a guy who has a history of restraining orders and police calls and stalking and physical abuse and all of these things." I would look into this. I would be like, "Thank you, Abby." Or even let's say, okay, she didn't see those DMs. Let's say she didn't know, right? And then after this whole thing, Abby reached out to her, or like when Abby
Right.
made a video about her own story, by the way. Again, wouldn't you be like, yeah, Abby, let's talk, girl, about
I
this
know.
abusive, horrible person that we both ended up in the same situation. How horrible was that? But instead, she attacks Abby, lies about her, slut shames her. What?
I know. And also, okay, like in the beginning, when they're like a happy couple, right? Although again, I don't think they were actually a happy couple.
Yeah.
But like, okay, let's say they were a happy couple in the beginning, and then Abby reaches out to her. Like, I can understand, maybe if you have such a huge following, a lot of followers, and like random different platforms, people will probably say things like, "Oh, he cheated. I saw him there with this girl." Like, you'll probably get a lot of messages like that, but you don't really pay attention because you feel like they're like trolls, or they're trying to mess with you out of boredom or something, right? But then if she says something like that, I feel like you could still say, okay, like, I'll keep that in mind. I'll maybe look into, because it's public record, right? Like, you can find it if he has a restraining order. I mean, if she has a restraining order against him.
Well, these people are living in different countries,
Oh,
continents,
right,
so
right,
it's,
right.
it's
Yeah,
hard. It's
yeah,
hard.
yeah.
Also, by the way, like Liz also has a history. Do you remember that she was like once just completely crashed out on her sister? She was like, "I'm cutting them out. I'm gonna cut my sister and mom out because they don't love me. I'm the black sheep of the family. They only pretend to wanna, like me and hang out with me because of money. And they're just, abusive to me. And if you guys know all of the things that they do to me and that happens between us, that and she just like would just completely like crash out like that and just post horrible things about her mom and sister. And then the next day we're just completely like pretending like nothing happened, just like, be back with them. Apparently, like she would like unfollow them and just be like,
Okay.
they hate me, they don't like me, they never liked me, they only use me for money when they need me. And she would like unfollow them, and like, I'm gonna cut them out, and the next day they
uh,
follow each other back, and it's like nothing happened.
which
Again, this is not normal. What is, like, I don't know. By the way, Landon tried to convince Abby that she has BPD, bipolar
I
personality
know.
disorder, which ironically, the kind of weird thing that that Liz is doing seems like, I don't know. Does Landon have a thing for girls that exhibit some sort of BPD like at least behavior of this whole this roller coaster of one day I hate my sister and mom, block them, they only use me for money, they don't love me, and then the next day I love
Um,
sister.
I think that because he wants to date somebody popular, some kind of a mini
Mm.
celebrity, sort of Instagram celebrity, right? And I feel like because he goes for this type of, because he wants to hype, right? there's even a video when he's like, "Oh, I want to be MrBeast. Like, I aspire to be like somebody like that." He was young too. He's like little baby there. I mean, I don't know how old, but younger than right now. And he was saying that I aspire to be like MrBeast. But you see, at least MrBeast had a fucking idea. Landon has nothing. And I guess he's AI thing, which to be honest feels like a scam as well, a little bit. And so I feel like he goes for this like popular girls that have their own platform because he wants to build his own following, because he wants to hype. He wants to go viral, right? He wants to gain popularity. And I feel like if you go for girls that are extremely popular online, a huge majority of them are gonna be a little bit like it's a little bit hysterical, like you're already filtering for a group of population that might be a little bipolar, a little hysterical,
Emotional.
because I feel like to have a career in that field, it's like, remember we were also talking about like you have to be like extra, like you have to talk and like everything is like so expressive, and people who are successful are the people I feel like who have that naturally, like being like extra expressive emotionally, and I feel like that's why he often, and also another part could be personal preference. Yeah, I guess.
Right. Okay, so the last piece of like the information about her history, apparently at some point she tried to sell these pajamas and stuff that people were calling like a fraud and a scam, because apparently she was trying to sell them for $130, but the quality of it was like, even they're saying it was even worse than Shine, for like, like it looked like she bought something for $1 and was trying to sell to her fans for $130.
I don't think it looked like, because I read on Reddit people were saying that you can find this exact item on like AliExpress or something for a lot cheap.
Right, right. Yeah, that's
a
true.
lot
They were saying
cheaper.
like basically selling, Chinese shrine stuff to her
Right, right.
fans, by the way, for like $130. How crazy
Yeah,
is that?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, anyways, I'm ready to go, through Abby's timeline
Yes.
that she said in her video. So you have anything else to say before that?
No, no, no. We can go to Abby. There's like a thing that I want to say about Abby in her like part 2 or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So basically, Abby and Landon dated from 2023 to 2024, right before he met Liz. In fact, there was some overlapping there, and they met while she was a bottle girl.
Yes.
And she also has an OnlyFans.
Oh, she does? I didn't know.
Yes, that's what they say. And so she was saying that she endured a lot of physical and emotional abuse during their relationship. She also said that she actually doesn't really. Can you hear that?
No.
Oh, okay. There's like a construction thing going on outside of my window. I don't know if I should. Oh, okay. If it goes on, I'll just close the window.
I don't hear anything though.
Okay, so she says that she doesn't really drink or do drugs, but Landon likes doing all of those things. Like apparently she likes to party, drink, and do drugs.
Well, didn't she kind of say that she was doing it and then got sober? That's
right. She says by the time that we met, she says I was done with all of those things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But she was still a bottle girl, so she, that kind of, the party was around her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And still is, judging by her Instagram and TikToks. There's like always a party every day. That is like, it's just like, there's a party. Anyways. And she says that at first she didn't want to date, but he love bombed her. He pursued her.
Yeah.
And, he would send her like thousands of, within 1 month of knowing each other, he would send her thousands of flowers. He wrote her a poem. He wrote a love letter. He wrote her, not a poem, a song. He wrote her a book. Does that sound familiar?
Which also, mind you, he denies, by the way, in his stories. He denies doing that. Landon.
Oh, just recently. But then he denies a
Yeah.
lot of, well, he basically denies everything that she says. And he just, calls her a liar
Right.
and a
Right.
sugar
Right.
baby and
Right.
just
Right.
denies everything. So, that's,
Everything. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of a given. So because the reason I think because why I'm more skeptical of him than of her is because she actually showed a lot of evidence that he did. For example, he also accused her of lying about the pregnancy. He literally, I'll post the screenshots here. He called it a fake pregnancy in his
Uh-huh.
stories, and she was like, "What do you mean a fake pregnancy?" And she posts the actual documents of her being pregnant and suffering from a miscarriage at the time. And, she actually shows the ER documents from the emergency room. So, again, like she says stuff about her that turns out to be a lie as she calls her a liar. But she just then shows the screenshots, the documents that prove
Yeah.
that she's telling the truth, and Liz and Landon are lying about her as they're calling her a liar.
Yeah. But
The
it's
same.
weird, like if you actually did, like, okay, like flowers and stuff, why now say no, I never did that? Like the poem thing, or the book or whatever he wrote. And now he's like, that's a
Well,
lie. Why not?
because it makes Liz look bad, and he's trying to get back with Liz.
Oh, and then also, oh my god, another story where he was like posting everything that he bought, list, and was like, I mean, like, come on, this is the love of my life. Obviously, because I bought her so many things. Look
Yeah.
at the flowers.
So, also he was like, bonding spiritually with her based on her trauma. He was like,
Wait, second, second.
they were trauma bonding basically, based on how she's like, I had a lot of this trauma. I suffered from abusive men. Also, does it remind you of anyone? For those who don't know, Liz talks often about how she's, historically since childhood, she has this trauma with abusive men in her life. Same thing. Abby was also, like I was physically abused. I was so traumatized after my last relationship. I didn't want a relationship. And Landon, he was just like, he was so spiritual. He was so like, we bonded over my trauma. He made me feel so comfortable about my trauma. That's exactly what Liz keeps saying about her trauma and how they bonded spiritual. And how he keeps talking about God to both of them all the time, especially when he's trying to like, get them to forgive him for his cheating.
Yeah.
So basically very similar. And so I feel like that's why Liz hated the fact that Abby came up with these things because, this whole time up to this point, Liz has been posting like, oh, look, he made a book for me, which by the way, people are like, what book? It just looks like a high school scrapbook. He just like where, like little kids will post a picture and just write some dumb things there. That's what you're calling. Anyways, so Liz was like, he wrote me a book. He gave me flowers. She has always been posting like, look, he gives me 700 flowers. He gives me these expensive gifts.
Yeah.
He wrote me this. He wrote me that. And now it looks like, and so it's just she has been this whole time she's been portraying it to little girls as though like, look how special he treats me. That's what we queens deserve. But turns out,
He was
first of
just
all,
going by a playbook.
you just fell for an abuser.
I know.
And
He was
both of you fell for an abuser. And when that girl who also like you fell for an abuser, when she tried to reach out to you, when she tried to kind of, be like sisters or something, you just attacked her.
Yeah.
You just wanted to shut the fuck up. What?
and teamed up with your quote unquote
The
abuser.
abuser,
I
right?
know.
What?
I know. I know. It's so weird. There's when like Abby goes through the emails and screenshots of the text messages, one
Mhm.
thing that I didn't really understand was like when she was like, hold on, when he's telling her, emailing her, the pain
Mhm.
from being blocked and knowing things are like this is debilitating for me. My God, poor baby, you're blocked. Oh my gosh, you must be so hurt right now. And also, but mind you, before that, he also before or after, I don't know, in one of those emails, he says, "You've hurt me in so many times." He says to her, "The fuck?" And then next sentence, by the way, he says, "It feels abusive that I paid you and then you blocked me after saying you wouldn't." What does that mean?
Where was all of that? I have no idea.
In Abby's like part two, when she's like giving
Oh,
screenshots of emails.
okay. We have like we're about to get there. Let's just finish the part
Okay.
one.
Okay.
Also, in the part one, she says that he convinced her that she has BPD,
Yeah.
which when she talked about it to her therapist was like, "No, you don't have BPD."
Yeah.
Which I wonder, like people who like your partners who try to gaslight you into like convincing you that you have mental issues. What kind of mental issues, I wonder, do they have themselves to be doing that?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like because sometimes she might also, have BPD. Like, I feel like,
Well, it sounds like she has been going to therapists extensively for a long time, which, by the way, it seems like she genuinely goes to the therapist trying to address her issues. Because, for example, she
Mhm.
was in one of these things, she was saying, like, I would be like in one of those moments, she would talk to her therapist and ask herself, like, what is wrong with me? Why do I end up in these situations? By the way, all three of them like to talk about vibrations. And, but while Landon,
frequencies.
yes, but while Liz and Landon keep talking about how they have these high vibrations and frequencies and how they're these high value men, she actually says that she goes to the therapist, asks this question, she asks herself, and in the video, she says, I was asking myself, what is wrong with me? Am I this low vibrations person? What is it? Like, what's going on? So, like that seems to me like out of all three of them, and obviously there's questions to all three of them, but if I had to rank them, it seems
Mhm.
that the person who's well, they're all, well, the most self-aware, I guess, and someone who's actually genuinely trying to work out what's happening. It's like she seems to be the only one. The other two just deny. Like anything
Mm.
that kind of hurts their image of this, I'm a rich guy, or I'm this beautiful girl and I deserve the world. Anything that goes against that image, they just want to shut down, attack, deny. Like, I don't know. I don't understand that.
But don't you feel like she is also kind of playing, like, I mean, having her own, what is, my gosh, having her own agenda? because, because I feel like she's kind of also being like, too much playing into like, I'm a victim in this situation.
Well,
Everybody
see,
abused me and manipulated me, and I went to a therapist and he confirmed that there is nothing wrong with me, which like pointing fingers at everybody else in being a
well,
victim in this
see,
situation.
she wouldn't be talking about this if he didn't try to convince her in the first place that there was something wrong with her. If she wasn't,
I
if he, her whole point with this was, as she's documenting her story, she's like, he tried to convince me that I have BPD.
mhm.
And honestly, to me, she doesn't look like, well, Liz, on the other hand.
I mean, maybe she has some kind of disorder. It's just because he's not a psychiatrist, he can't like give. Maybe he's just like saying BPD for many
Well,
other disorders that she might have.
regardless of whether she has them or not, she's actually trying. If she does have, she's actually trying to discover and find out and go
Mm.
to an actual therapist. Meanwhile, apparently, the person that Liz has been calling her therapist is actually a psychic.
Whoa, whoa! Great, that's great. Good job, good work.
Yeah, meanwhile, this girl, Abby, she has like, an actual degree in psychology.
Does she, or was she just accepted to?
Well, she
I
said
thought
that
she was just accepted
she was accepted to her third degree in psychology.
in psychology.
Right, right.
But she's also like what, 22 or 23, so I guess they're not like
I
real
mean, who
bachelor
knows? She
degrees.
actually kind of looks older. Who knows?
But I mean, like because people in the
Well,
comments
I
were
mean,
saying like, oh yeah,
that's what she says. It's not like I'm not a private investigator.
yeah. No, because when she said that, and then I went to the comments, and people were saying, and like you're only 22 or 23 or something. I was like, okay, those are not. Then it's not like a university degree. It's like maybe a certificate, maybe a course, like 4 weeks long course. Because it's not a degree like bachelor's in like arts or science or something.
I guess. Yeah, I wonder what she means by degree. I guess we'd have to ask her.
Degrees, certificate, I guess.
What
A certificate, I guess, like a couple months long
could
course
be.
is what I'm. Mhm.
Oh, and also apparently while they were in a relationship, he was shaming her for being a bottle girl. He was like, I don't
Right,
want to, I don't want to be
right.
with a low value woman who's a bottle girl. And then
Yes,
he
yes.
made her quit her job as a bottle girl and then kept partying and cheated on her with another bottle girl.
My God. What, did she actually quit her job?
Well, that's what they said in the video in the first part. Yeah.
God.
She was like, I quit my
Uh,
job and then he cheats on me with a bottle girl.
dog. Oh, well, I mean, like, if you quit her job, if she quit her job, then like he was supporting, or how was she making money?
I don't know. Who knows? Well, it has to be right because that seems like the
Right.
pattern that that's part of how he love bombs these girls. And maybe that's also part of why he has to find girls like Abby and Liz, the ones who are kind of susceptible to this, when they see dollar signs and a guy who wants to support them financially, all of a sudden they're willing to overlook all of these red flags just because they're these get your bag kind of red pill girls.
And also, like, just give up on your profession, career, like whatever you were doing,
Autonomy.
Yeah, and also, like, for example, she quit her job, and Liz just abandoned all of her like advices, all of her coaching, right? So
Is
they
losing
just
her fandom because of that.
and then just the moment this happens, they just both drop whatever was making the money and like do 180.
Even though, again, Liz has been telling girls this whole time, girls don't do that. Oh, these stupid girls, they get into a relationship with this guy, and all of a sudden they want to get pregnant by him. They want to drop everything for him. Girl, that's
Yeah,
exactly what you did.
I know.
You weren't
And
even
also,
married, and you got pregnant by him. Just 6 months of knowing him. What?
oh, why do you think she did that though?
Engaged after 2 months. I don't know. She seems to have been desperate. In fact, 2 months into she was the one kind of also love bombing him because she was like, kept talking about how she wanted his babies. A
Why?
couple
Like,
months
desperate for what?
I don't know. Because, people are like, she does these videos about how to get rich, but no one knows how she's rich. I think it's
Yeah.
all just a smoke screen because no one knows her business, her LLC, nothing. It's all just a smoke screen. And so maybe she was like, oh my God, look at this, young guy. She has
Rich
some
guy.
AI, yeah, VR, IT, software money. And while he's, obviously, they kind of found each other, right? I feel like all three of them.
Which, by the way, I also went to his AR thing. I went to VR thing. I went to the website. I don't know. It feels like a scam to me
Fishy,
because there was.
fishy.
Did he go there? Did he went on that website? Because there was like really nothing there. They kept talking about innovation and new world and this and that, but there was really nothing of substance in that website.
Because he's a liar. He's a liar. At this point, he's a proven liar.
Exactly.
By the way, another thing that he lied about when he tried to portray her as a sugar baby that who was in Ibiza with married men, and then he posts the screenshot as though it's proof. Meanwhile, all the screenshot shows is Abby saying, I'm gonna be in Ibiza with married men and women. So married men and married women. Meaning that she's saying that, just like it's a family situation, these are like married men and married women. Like this is the situation that's going to be happening in Ibiza. And he takes that and tries to twist that. She's like, oh, she's a sugar baby. She's hanging out with married men. Is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? This is why I don't trust anything he says anymore, because he's like, I have proof that she's a sugar baby who hangs out with married men. I'm like, and look at my proof, and I look at the proof and it doesn't prove anything. Over and over again, I'm like, there's something wrong with this guy. And the only person who could fall for a guy like that is someone who's a liar and a scammer and a fraud themselves,
yes.
And just has dollar signs in her eyes. That's the only woman I believe that can fall for someone like that, because it's so on the surface.
And also, like, when he was posting these stories, like, look what I bought her, right? Like, obviously, Liz is the love of my life. I love her so much because follows the images of, like, flowers, I think watches or expensive watches or something. So does that equivalent, like, if I buy you this expensive watch, therefore I love you? And also, you see, he's playing on, like, he's trying to influence her, right? Like, affect her in that way, saying kind of like, I feel like that's a mutual understanding there, that if I'm buying you all of those things, therefore I love you.
Exactly. For both of them, that's proof of love. That's why Liz was posting all of those things in the first place. Like, look at all these bags and flowers and jewelry he gives me because I'm so special. This proves my high value and that he's obsessed with me. Like she likes to say, people are obsessed with me.
Yeah.
And now look at where you ended up.
Well, and also I feel like it's so weird to like preach like how to be, like, how to find the man, how to be in the relationship that's like good for you, la la. And then, like, that's the problem I feel like that I have with this whole situation, is that you cannot preach something if you're not an expert in this. I'm not gonna listen to like nutrition advice from someone who is like 200 kilograms, diabetic and has a bunch of autoimmune because of obesity. Why would I listen to that advice? And then like people will be like, no, like it can happen to anyone. Like everybody can be like lied to or cheated on. But I feel like no, if you're giving advice, you have to have some kind of like base knowledge on that.
That's why people are calling her a fraud, because she's been giving a relationship advice to young girls this whole time. And meanwhile, turns out in her Q&A video with Landon, she admits that this is her first real relationship. That's what she said.
Right.
Literally, this is her first real relationship.
And
with a guy
also,
who's a cheater, abuser, and a liar. So what are your credentials of being an idiot, of being
expert.
gullible?
Right, right. And also in another video, she was like, no, actually not her, Liz. Oh, sorry, her sister, Sabina, I think her name.
Yeah.
She was saying something like, Liz actually like never talks about relationships. Like it's like only few of her videos where she talks about the fuck.
And then did you see that people made a compilation of where like Sabina says that, and then following that Liz just keeps talking about relationship.
I know.
And stuff, and I'm like, what are these lies? Like, people are just making up stuff. People are calling her a relationship coach, a dating coach. Like, when has she ever talked about relationships?
Stop being desperate for a relationship when I was sleeping next to him. Relationship like that. In a relationship, in a relationship, healthy relationship. Right? Why am I in this relationship? Your relationship, in a relationship, get into a relationship is your relationship, a relationship. It's in a relationship,
She never gives advice on love. What the fuck?
Yeah, and then again, there's another compilation where Liz keeps talking, going on and on about love, relationships, advice, my love, my advice to you about relationships, love. I'm like, oh my god, why do they just keep lying and lying and lying? They just can't stop lying.
I know, but that's like so obvious. Like that's pretty much. I mean, that's not all she talks about, but that's pretty much all she talks about. Like majority of her content is about relationships with a man.
Okay, the last point of that first part. God damn it, we're still in the first part. So basically, she says that. So this is like by 4 months into their relation of knowing each other, she also already like he was already physically abusive. She had called the police on him. Yes, and there was a screenshot that I actually kind of like looked into, and in that screenshot, he, by the way, says something. He must have said something about like how she hit him or something, because later he will post screenshots of his injuries of some sort, and people are saying it's self-defense. And in that email, actually, that Abby herself kind of quickly showed, I saw also where she says, "Well, yes, that was in self-defense." To him. Well, messages actually, yes. What did you want to talk to, by the way, talk about in part 2? You said something.
So there is a screenshot from, apparently from Landon to Abby, where he's saying the first sentence is, the pain from being blocked and knowing things are like this is debilitating for me. Next sentence, it feels abusive that I paid you and then you blocked me after saying you wouldn't. Like, what the fuck is that about?
Oh, he said, I paid you.
Yeah, and you blocked me.
Meaning like pay as in like money?
No, that's just what it says. It says, it feels abusive that I paid you and then you blocked me after saying you wouldn't.
Oh, maybe that's why he keeps calling her a sugar baby without really having any proof. Because he's like, well, I was the sugar daddy. I just can't say that out loud.
I was the one paying for you, bitch. You can block me now.
Oh my god. Yeah, who knows what that was about?
Right? That was, and also, like, what stood out to me was like he was saying, what?
Maybe that's why he keeps saying that it's a fake pregnancy. And that, that she kept claiming a pregnancy and something about abortions. Maybe is that what he means? That I paid you? Like, is that why he gave her the money? Because why?
But then he would say, I gave you money for abortion. He wouldn't say I paid you.
Or he would say I paid you because, no one wants to just keep saying the word abortion, especially if if it's but you're like, a couple.
Obviously, I paid you sounds like I paid for your services. You got paid. I don't know. And then also, like, he paid her, and then you blocked me after saying you wouldn't. Like, he seems to be upset that she blocked him even after he paid.
Do not block him.
I know. What is that supposed to? That was so strange to me. I feel like that email kind of stood out. What is going on? And
Well,
then
to me,
everything else that follows is just um like I'm sorry, I love you, yada 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 yada.
Mhm.
Those two sentences just kind of stood out to me.
Well, to me, I feel like this just goes to show that, when all three of them are like kind of worthy of each other. Usually in these situations, I feel like what the mistake that the public makes is that they try to take sides and make someone look like the villain
Yeah.
and make the other one look like an angel when that is not the case. Usually
Yeah.
in situations like that, when people have been married, in relationships for a long time, there's a reason why they are together. It's not a coincidence.
And also, I mean, this is gonna sound like victim blaming, but she was saying how she like kept getting back together with him for like a million times. Like he cheated a million times and they kept getting back together. So like I don't know. I understand like people will say like, like that would be like victim blaming, people get back and blah blah. But we are not talking about a situation where she's like dependent on him financially or cannot physically leave. Otherwise there are going to be consequences, he's going to kill you. We're not really talking about this kind of situation. She is an independent person, she has her own money that she's earning, she has a following. Like she's
Oh,
not like 100% dependent on him where like if she left she wouldn't be able to survive or like she would
although,
kill you or something.
well, if at the time she said that she was a bottle girl, that's how she was making her money, and then he made her quit, then I guess she was eventually financially dependent on him for some time. Maybe that's why she kept taking him back. And maybe that's why also, by the way, he kept cheating on her because he was like, what are you going to do? I feed
Yeah, where
you.
are you gonna go? I mean, maybe. I don't know. Because it's not like, she still had resources
Well,
of
because
her
now
own.
we're looking at her like, okay, she has like, what is it, like a million TikTok subscribers. Who knows what was, happening at the time? She was even younger then and even less known. So maybe being a bottle girl, because she is no longer a bottle girl, right? So if at the time she had to be a bottle girl, maybe, that she didn't have as many options. Also, I feel like people think influencers are rich. Meanwhile, most of the influencers who are like, with all these Lamborghinis and stuff, they're cosplaying as rich. They're not really rich, especially all these red pill people, both men and women, by the way.
I mean, when she says like did she say I bought this house or like I got this house? You're not living in a dorm, girl. You're not
Well,
living
also, even
in
in these
someone's
messages
basement.
that I was telling you about, the screenshots where she says, that was my job, I was a bottle girl. She's talking about men who were giving her thousands of dollars
Yeah.
at a very young age. So, I'm not surprised that at some point she was able to, afford things.
But again, you see, like, which means that she has some resources already, independent of Landon,
So, what are you
and
trying to say?
that she wasn't like dependent on him for like food or rent, and she couldn't leave.
Well,
She
maybe
had
at
her
some
own
point she
resources.
was. Maybe at some point she was. Because
I
if
guess.
her source of money is being a bottle girl and getting money from rich men, and he cuts that out, now she's no longer a bottle girl, then isn't that kind of logical? That, especially if you're pregnant with the guy's baby, what are you gonna do? Be a pregnant bottle girl?
Oh my god, that's a horrible image that just created in my head. That was just create. I
No,
don't
really, what are you
know.
gonna do? And now that's the situation that Liz in at this point, by the way.
Yeah, but
What
I'm
is
just
she
saying,
gonna
like,
do? Like stand there pregnant in front of her pants and be like, go date that, find that rich guy.
I guess. I don't know. No, but like my point is they have, or even if they had, okay, they had their own source of income and then they gave up on that when that stopped happening when they met this like person. And then what this like, I don't know, did they not have like, if they were buying, like they could sell things and still have money. It's not like they were like dirt poor if they broke up with them and like homeless immediately. I'm sure they still had resources to use. It's not like if they broke up with them, they would be like homeless. So it's not like that dire kind of situation where you have to be with him, otherwise you're not gonna have a roof over your head.
Okay.
So it's not that kind of like, I have to make this work. I have to stay with him because I'm like so dependent that if we break up, I'm not gonna have food on the table. Isn't that kind of situation? Because there are like these kind of situations where people are forced to stay, but I feel like she wasn't in that situation. She was like forced because of her circumstances. But she like kept doing it again and again and again.
Okay, so what's your hypothesis? Why? Seems like you're trying to lead this somewhere.
No, it's just like when she says that she keeps like getting back with him again and again, it kind of feels I don't like that for some reason. Like something about me feels like, oh, I don't trust you anymore. I feel like, well, that would be too dramatic, but it's kind of the vibe.
Okay,
Like,
so you don't trust her because she took him back after the cheating. And I feel like actually that's probably the sentiment that Liz's fans are feeling right now as well. That we don't trust you. Why are you trying to defend the guy and, be in cahoots with him? We don't trust you anymore after this. I mean, it seems like you and the Liz's fans are coming from the same place.
And also, if you keep getting back together, I feel like it's weird to say, "Oh my God, it was so horrible. He abused me. It was a horrible relationship." But I kept getting back with him over and over again. That argument I feel like would work if you are in a desperate situation. You need this person to survive. Otherwise, you're not gonna have food on the table. You're not gonna have roof over your head. That would be fine, like if that's your circumstances. But then you do though.
Isn't that like I heard in psychology it's a common thing that victims keep going back to their abusers. It doesn't matter how much money you have in your bank account. That's just something victims do. When victims of rape go back to their rapist as well.
Well,
and then some people like Candace Owens will be like, well, why did you go back? If you go back, that means you weren't a victim of rape. But psychologists will say, therapists will say, actually, that's a very common thing that happens to victims of rape, that they will go back to. That's actually, something we see all the time.
But, okay, once or twice, that's fine. But like, a lot of times. Yes, multiple times. 7 times.
Yes, exactly. That's what therapists say.
And I guess the difference here is that I don't see her as a victim for some reason. I feel like that's the difference.
Again,
I don't see her as like being.
Victims can look all sorts of different ways. Victims can be rich or poor. Victims can be skinny or
obviously.
Fat. Victims can have different jobs. They can be beautiful or ugly. What are you trying to say? If you look a certain way, victim. Why?
No.
Are you victim blaming?
Well, no, it's just for some reason I don't see her as a victim. I don't know. She just.
But I feel like you have to justify. You can't just
feeling
when a woman comes forward about being victimized, you can't just, I feel like, willy-nilly tell her, no, you're not a victim, I don't trust you. And then when asked why,
I'm not saying she is not.
Like, why did you go back when it's empirically proven that victims do tend to go back to their abusers.
No, I'm not saying that she's not. I'm just saying that I don't view I don't view her as a victim. I don't feel.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what you. Yeah. Okay, you want to move on?
Mm-hmm.
Or not? I mean, if you don't want to move on, we can keep talking about this.
I mean, I don't understand why are you like so pushy about this.
Me? I'm pushy. You're the one victim blaming. Okay, just to be sure, by the way, do you want me to cut anything out or?
No.
Okay, so I'm leaving it because
Yeah.
All right. So should we move on to the second and third parts? I feel like we can combine them.
Sure.
So that's when she starts talking about her Europe trip, and she says that I was going to Ibiza first, and then other countries, and that I was, publicizing everything, in my everything. Everyone knew about my plans, where I was gonna go, and stuff like that. And she says that he cyber stalked her and showed up in Ibiza.
Yeah.
But Landon showed screenshots where it seems like she's inviting him to come to Ibiza. She says that, come here. That's when she says, there's going to be married men and married women. There's going to be billionaires there. Maybe you can sold your company to them.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Yeah. And then... So yeah, it's kind of unclear at this point. She says he stalked her, although I can see how both of them could be kind of right, where she invited him, but he was like, I don't know, but then ends up kind of surprising her, showing up in Ibiza and causing a scene.
Because I feel like those claims about him stalking both Abby and Liz are not, they're not just out of nowhere. I feel like he must have done like something like that, I feel like he must have stalked them in one way or another, because I feel like those kind of accusations, they don't come out of nowhere with no grounds.
Liz says no one could have known about her plans because she never shared and never shares about her plans online. And so, but however, I found that very interesting that for the longest time, Liz fans were saying that he stalked her into Europe.
Right.
But now it seems like he did stalk someone into Europe, but just not Liz. He stalked Abby into Europe. That's so funny to me.
Or he was kind of doing, like trying to do both. Like he feels like he's losing Abby, and then he's like trying to have his backup plan, his plan B.
Well, see, again, like Abby says, her plans were all over social media, so everyone knew she was going to be in Ibiza in Europe, her doing this Euro trip. Even, she was like, I was even sharing what clubs I was going to go to, in which Landon ended up being and causing a scene later. But with Liz, no, she's like, no one, like she keeps emphasizing in that Q&A that no one knew about those plans.
But that's like what she says.
Well, even Liz didn't know about her plans until the last minute. She says those were last minute plans.
But again, that's what she says. I feel like I just like don't trust her so much at this point. Like that's what she says.
That is true, by the way. The trust thing and not being able to trust, especially Liz and Landon at this point, I feel like those are the two people that I trust the least in this whole story, because they've already showed themselves to lie so much and for no reason. It's really crazy.
And also so obviously, like when the sister was like, she doesn't put any relationship videos. My God, like that was so obviously, blatantly a lie. How can you? I don't. And also, like in this situation, I feel like we only have her words, so I don't really trust that anymore. Whatever she says, when she's like, "Oh, nobody knew."
Right.
Or like that was so spontaneous. No, because I feel like she was also trying because I feel like in that sense in that case. She also really wanted to believe or portray this situation as destiny. We were destined. It was fate. And that's why she has an incentive to say nobody knew. And it was just like out of nowhere. We spontaneously planned that.
Yeah.
Because she has an incentive to play it out as destiny. And also because I guess she saw all of those comments saying that he stalked her. Even, I guess, I feel like it also the comments about him stalking her happened before that as well, before the whole drama. And that's
Right.
why she feels the need to emphasize the fact that, oh my God, it was so spontaneous. I feel like she has an agenda there, and there's a reason why she would say that. But it doesn't mean that it's true. We don't know.
Right. We don't know. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So the last couple things she says, the Abby woman, in her last video. So she says that in December of 2023, she called the police on Landon because he was physically abusive towards her and that he locked her in a car. And she also says that he told her that her favorite show is You on Netflix.
Oh my God.
Is it like, I think Joe Goldberg, I guess, is the main character, right? The psychopath?
The guy from Gossip Girl.
Right. So I guess, yeah, she's like, everyone calls him Joe Goldberg, and well, there's kind of, and also he said his favorite show is You.
You is also so. I started watching it. I didn't like it. It was like so cringy and annoying. And also, okay, in the beginning, they kind of had me. In the beginning of like few series, I kind of was like, okay, this is going somewhere. But then a few episodes later, it just felt like they were kind of. It was just nonsense. It was just like complete nonsense. It didn't really make any sense. It kind of felt like they were like imagining things one on top of the other. They wouldn't like align. It was annoying. So I stopped watching it because I felt like it was just kind of cringy and annoying and just complete, like making things up out of thin air. There was no base for the plot.
I see. But I guess he just, so I haven't seen it, but I guess he plays some sort of a psychopath that like stalks women or something.
Yeah.
Is that who Joe Goldberg is? Now everyone is calling Landon Joe Goldberg.
Well, yeah, kind of, yeah. So he basically stalks women and then he like learns what they like, don't like, like their schedule, what they do, where they go. And then like dates them and yeah, whatever.
Although, some people are saying that, Landon kind of, stalked her Liz and it just keeps saying of all these things about manifesting and spirituality and God just because Liz wants to hear that. But there are videos out there of Landon as a little kid sitting in front of a camera just talking about something about spirituality and manifesting and God. So I'm like, well, maybe they were just made for each other. No.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did see something like that. I'll try to find it and post it here as well. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He was trying to play that it seemed like one of those, life coach guru things, even as a little kid. He's like, if you just have to believe in yourself and you can't succeed, the same thing that like Liz keeps repeating over and over. And he's doing it as a little guy. And I'm like, wait.
No, because I thought that he was doing it only because Liz was into it. I thought that that's why he was doing that.
Apparently both of them had that grifter guru vibe from a long time ago.
AKA a scammer. Oh my God, all of these like life coaches, scammers. Well, no, sorry, life coaches, gurus. And life coaches, I don't believe in any of that bullshit. I feel like all of those are scammers. I hate them. I mean, okay, well, I hate would be a too strong of a word, but I don't like, I have a visceral reaction. I dislike this kind of content online. I try not to interact with them, and I don't like people who will be like, I am a coach, or I have a coach. Oh my God, I'm gonna vomit.
I know, yeah, it is really cringy.
Yeah.
Especially a life coach. Like, what does that even mean?
You can
It's like,
go to a psychologist. You can go to therapy. That would be your life coach if you want.
yeah.
You can go to somebody who actually has a degree.
To me, like life coach sounds something like, like a pooping coach. Why do we need? You don't need a coach to poop. Just go poop.
Well, I guess they like motivate these people or whatever. Like, you go, girl.
Oh my God. But then, yeah, I heard somewhere that, her fans are like girls under 25. Someone said, like, without an education or something like that. Because before that, I was wondering who is watching this? What is this? But who knows? I mean, the only good news, I guess, that came from all of this is that it seems like, girls are getting their eyes opened kind of in the situation. They're like, wait a minute, is Liz a grifter? I think
Exactly. Exactly. I feel like that's why, people are not that dumb. You cannot leave them forever, like scamming them like that forever. People are not dumb. They're gonna, like, if you have some kind of a facade, if you have some kind of a scam going on, it's like people are gonna figure it out. I feel like it's not gonna last for a long time. It might last for some time, but then eventually you're gonna be outed.
Have you seen that video of Liz, by the way, when it's called I'm Getting Married or something? And there she says that, I manifested Landon, girls, and you can do this too. You can manifest it. You just have to believe it. And you can do this, in her this aggressive way. She's like, forcing you to manifest someone like Landon. And meanwhile, now with our hindsight, you're looking at it like, so what, you manifested a cheater, a liar, an abuser?
Which, by the way, another thing about Abby, when I was watching her TikTok, she was saying that, like, but now I'm in this, like, amazing, loving relationship, like, where everything is great. And I'm like, okay, give it a few months, and now you're gonna cry again, saying how abusive he was, how horribly he treated you, and how you cannot believe how you were in those relationships because you were so abusive. Just a few months later, you were like, this lovey eyes saying how awesome he is. And you see, she's saying that in comparison to Landon, she's saying that, okay, I had a pattern. She's saying I had a pattern of dating these abusive men. But now, finally, I have this guy with whom I have this true, honest, loving relationship. Finally,
just like what Liz would say.
I know, exactly. Just like what Liz would say. Liz was probably saying the same shit.
She was. Yeah, she was like, growing up, all these abusive men, but no more.
I know. No, now finally I'm in this healthy, beautiful, loving relationship. And then a few months later, I was so abused. It was horrible. And I don't like, and also another thing that I don't like is that I feel like they are discrediting, or like reducing or devaluing why they were into them in the first place. I feel like that's also what people in the, like sober TikTok. I follow a few people on TikTok that are like sobers that quit alcohol. And I mean, some of them are really nice. Some of them are like really genuine and stuff, but some of them will, but often they will say things like, it like ruined my social life, it ruined my health, and like and they point out all the negatives. Like it was like bad for my health, it was bad for my social life, I was isolating, I stopped talking to all of my friends and family. It was horrible. It was horrible, 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 horrible. But they don't. But for some reason,
Right. Yeah, why?
it didn't
You
stop
kept
them.
doing it, so that they don't share
Right.
that. Right. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I hate. Like, okay, those things were happening all throughout you being, alcoholic.
Right. I guess if
And
you're
none of
trying to
those
be
stopped this.
completely honest, and you should also share the upsides of it. Like, why did you stay there? And maybe that added
Exactly.
awareness will also help you and people who you're talking to right now.
Because they're only pointing out the negative. Oh my god, it was horrible. It ruined my social life. I stopped talking to all of my friends and family. It ruined my health. It ruined my job, right? They keep pointing out the negatives. And then also it also, I feel like, implies that how can you be so stupid to be addicted to this if you see all of those negatives? Well, you're not talking. Those negatives existed when you were addicted to this thing.
Although I
And
guess
it still somehow didn't stop you from doing this.
guess in this kind of communities like Alcoholics Anonymous and stuff, I think it's just kind of like a bit of a part of the narrative that you can't glamorize the addiction. You can't glamorize the drinking, because I guess for them, it's like if you start talking about all the upsides and how amazing and fun it was, like, it kind of defeats the purpose, right? Because everyone just is sitting there in that circle being like, okay, let's share why we want to quit. And it kind of defeats the purpose, I guess, to sit there and just share like all the amazing parts of drinking and partying. So, because that's kind of not, I feel like maybe the understanding there, obviously, of course, there was a reason. Otherwise, I wouldn't be addicted to this. But now that we
Right.
want to heal, we are here to talk about why we quit. Why I left Landon.
I guess, but I feel like, at least to me, it kind of feels like, those are like such obvious reasons. So
Well,
why on earth would you continue? Are you dumb? Are you stupid? Do you not see those reasons? Like,
Also, is that what you want them to say? I'm just a dumb, stupid idiot. That's why.
No, I feel like there is a way to present this information without being too like polarized. Like, this is
I don't know.
bad
I
or
feel
this
like
is good.
I actually think she shared that. What didn't she say that, we really connected spiritually? He was the first person, I think so, or only person or something like that, who, really took in my trauma, like, was very understanding. Like, he held me with my trauma. He, showered me with gifts, attention, love poems, letters, books. He was just showering me with love and attention. I feel like she kind of did that. She was like, gifts. He used to give me gifts. He used to, like, whenever she would break up with him, she said he would like send her thousands of emails, stalk her, just be like everywhere. I mean, I feel like she shared a lot of it. Like, what else do you want her to say? Like, he had a huge dick or something. Like, I feel like she already, like, said a lot.
But to me, it felt like, okay, that was in the beginning, before the whole abusive thing happened. But then the whole abusive thing happened, and your main focus is on all the bad things.
Also, I feel like you make it sound like it lasted years or something. It was just like at most a year.
Right.
So she left pretty quickly.
Right. It was just like a few months, like several months.
Yeah, it was just like a roller coaster of like at most 1 year, and she was out. So I feel like, again, in that case, she was, kind of A, maybe smart, and B, maybe, kind of maybe lucky that because, Liz is now stuck with the guy because she's what is it, at this point, 5 months pregnant or something. There's not much where she can go with that list. She's like tied to the guy now for like 18 years. Which, by the way, some people were saying that maybe she wanted to, like, who baby trapped whom is also a question there. Some people are saying he baby trapped her because now she can't leave him. Now she's stuck with him for 18 years. And now he feels like he can go cheat on her. And she can't do much about that because, he's the baby daddy now. And apparently he that would be correct, because now even Liz is defending him. He was like, you guys, this is, my baby daddy.
Exactly. It's the father of my children. And I understand, I kind of understand her defending him, because I feel like, obviously, yeah, you're stuck with this person forever. And also, you cannot be like, okay, he was so bad and yada yada. And you have to justify your choice somehow. You have to be like, because she dated him
especially if you're someone like Liz, who like she just can't admit that she's not the special, high value woman deserving of anyone and anything. And like she also likes to portray herself as like, she controls the guy. She can make him do shit.
Yeah. So
I think that's why she's
on the higher ground.
Right. And I think that's why she's spiraling right now, because the situation is proving her otherwise. You don't control shit. He's cheating, lying is out there, and there's all these exes who are like, yeah, he gave you 750 flowers. He gave me thousands of flowers.
I know. My God. And also, I feel like, again, because she cannot be stupid in this situation, she has to justify her choice and her decisions.
Yeah, she doesn't want to look stupid. She's already stupid. I feel like objectively she's already in this situation. She looks very stupid, but she doesn't want to look stupid. So she's like, that's why I think the moment Abby came out with the story, even though she didn't attack Liz in any way, was trying to, in fact, since November of 2020, 3-4, help her. But now Liz is just like, she's just spiraling after that. She's like, shut up, you sugar baby.
Shut up, you whore. Okay.
Right. That's basically the message. Shut up, whore.
Yeah. Who gave you a right to speak?
And make me look like an idiot clown. How dare you? How dare you?
Exactly. Now she's trying to. Well, that's exactly what you said. She's trying to control the narrative, because otherwise she's gonna look like an idiot. So she has to justify her, because it's not even like one minor like choice. It's a choice that you made for months and months and months and months, and actually escalated. You decided to have a baby with this person. It's not just like one random thing. Like
Okay, you disappeared for a second. I think you're back now. Oh, you're wearing glasses, by the way. What happened?
I don't know. I just felt like wearing them.
Okay. And so also Liz tries to lie about this whole situation, where she's like, she tried to make fun of my Middle Eastern accent.
Who?
Abby. Yes. In her story, she tries to, I feel like it's kind of like a deflecting strategy. She tries
Wait, but did she though?
No, not at all. All Abby said was, she just said, someone called me from a no-caller ID, and then I answered the phone. It was a woman with a Middle Eastern accent. And then, she said, who is this? And I said, well, you're calling me, who are you? And then that woman said, this is Liz. That was it. No making fun, nothing. So this is completely like, I don't know if it's Delulu land, or if it's lying, deflecting, or trying to play the race card, because Abby is this white blonde woman.
But why
And
is she
maybe,
saying that?
well, because
With no grounds at all?
I guess
No.
just trying to attack, want to, just kind of like trying to portray it as though, oh,
Oh
look at
my
this
god.
horrible white woman being racist towards me, the poor
Oh
girl.
my
Which
god.
that's when I was watching Abby's videos, I was like, oh, nothing like that struck me, because I'm thinking also, well, first of all, you do have an accent. What is she trying to portray? Like, she does have an accent. She's been living in
Right.
Dubai this whole time, and she does sound like, an average person in Dubai sounds when they're speaking in English.
Yeah.
Plus, also, like, if she's, from Chechnya, if she's Chechen, like, their language and Arabic languages have a lot in common if they sound very similar. When, people from Chechnya, that Caucasus area, when they try to speak in English, very similar. Dagestan, Chechnya, these mountainous areas where the people look like, the Kim K Middle Eastern type of look, which, by the way, also people were saying that, the only reason she's famous is because she just looks one of these like Kim Kardashian type of girls. And she's just like, tries to portray it as though she lives this glamorous life, when in fact, she has to date men who she herself admitted she finds ugly,
I
unattractive.
know. I know. That's really weird. I mean, okay, again, I understand like venting to your like friends or like somebody like people close to you about your significant other if they did something wrong. You obviously, who else are you gonna go to? You're gonna go to your friends and like vent to them about, oh, he did this and that was so annoying, right? Like you have to do that, and you have to do it to someone. But yeah, like she's doing that all the time. I don't know. I don't know.
Also, calling them ugly. Like, I've never been
Yeah,
in a relationship with someone that I called my dream
right.
man and called them ugly, awkward, cringy. That I've never been attracted to them until a few bank transfers.
Right.
This is
Like
not
he,
just venting that, your boyfriend did something yesterday that annoyed you.
yeah.
No, this is just, feeling despising them at their core. This is what is that word called in psychology? That's like one of the horsemen, when people know that, the relationship is just destined for failure. Contempt. Contempt.
Ah.
Just calling someone, just calling them this horrible names, just like ugly, awkward. I've never been attracted. God, what is wrong with
And
you?
again, in this situation, what you're doing is like portraying yourself as this person who would go for somebody who you're not attracted to. Like, we're not even talking about whether the guy is objectively ugly or not ugly,
Right.
right? That's a different conversation. But you yourself are saying that you're willing to be with somebody who you're not attracted to, who you don't find beautiful, handsome, and you're still that's weird. That's weird.
Forcing yourself, torturing yourself, and
Oh,
no wonder why she's so mad and aggressive all the time.
like you have to find the person attractive. Like you have to be attracted to him.
Hmm? What do you mean?
Like when you're dating someone, you know,
Well, duh.
even okay, she's saying that it was only because of the bank transfers.
Hmm.
But even then,
Well, I don't know. I feel like some people, when the way they talk about, really, like, for example, the red pill guys, for example, like Andrew Tate type of
Mhm.
guys, I do
Yep.
believe that there's a chance I don't know if they can genuinely fall in love with a woman in a way that, like, and appreciate her as a human being, first of all. first and foremost, not as just like, just an annoying mouth that comes with the private parts that they want.
And also, like from like point A to point B, like they're also providing something.
Exactly. I just
for
feel like
them.
these kinds of materialistic people who just want to use other people, I don't know if they're capable of loving in general in life. You know what I mean? I'm not saying they're psychopaths, but if we just take like as an extreme example of someone like that, for example, a psychopath who only sees people as a means to
To an
getting,
end.
yes, to their selfish ends, a psychopath, I don't think is capable of love, he just sees you as like almost kind of like a wolf sees a sheep, the wolf is like, I'm hungry. Oh my God, look at this beautiful sheep. They might even be, that they might even look at you with those, longing eyes.
Yeah.
But what they're seeing behind everything is that they just want to consume you. It's about consumption. And that's why I feel like people are drawing parallels between Andrew Tate and this whole red pill community, because on both sides, for both men and women in these communities, they see the opposite sex as just a means to their end, as just use, consume. And by
Not
the way,
only that,
ironically, I feel like this is like a point of satisfaction for me personally and vindication, is that they both fall into their own traps eventually in the end.
I know.
Isn't that so funny? You know what it reminded me of? There's this like fresh and fit guys. One of them, I don't even remember their names, but they're this red pill kind of guys that, for them it's just like all women are just these money hungry whores or something. And just, for them it's like just use them and stuff like that. And they like to like kind of put down women as like, whores and sluts and stuff. And what do you know? One of them apparently found themselves being a baby daddy, got baby trapped by a girl just like that. One of those girls that they like to put down as whores and sluts and not worthy of them. He got, he got a woman like that pregnant. And now, he has to pay her child support. I don't know. And people online were saying that, oh my God, the irony.
The irony. I know. No, but also, do you feel like they are hyper fixating on that? There must be like some kind of reason, like they're hyper fixating on that because they are gravitating towards that, or vice versa. They're gravitating towards it, and that's why they're hyper fixating on those specific group of, like, it's not all men, it's just a group of people that are just seeing you as a means to an end. And that's why they're hyper fixating on that so much. And if you hyper fixate, that's what you're gonna get. That's what you're focused on. You're gonna manifest it. I mean,
they did. They all did.
Because that's what they want, though.
Right. It's like when people say that when you're always so hateful and like vocal and loud about something you really, really hate, in fact, especially in other people, maybe, look at yourself. Like, why are you so obsessed with it? It's like, those like Republicans who just hate gays. And then people find out that, that gay hating old Republican was just like blowing some guy at an airport somewhere.
I know. Well, okay. I feel like it is sometimes true. It's not 100% true, but it is sometimes true that like what you hate the most is actually something that you have in yourself. Again, that's not like, it's not always the case. Sometimes you just hate something. It doesn't mean that you have that quality in you.
But I think if you just keep talking about it, you can't stop talking about it. There's something weird there. Like, for example, I don't like Hawaiian pizza. Like, I don't like pineapple on my pizza. But it's not like, I make it a point to go every day online and be like, I hate Hawaiian pizza.
Right.
There should be no pineapple on pizza. Like, I don't make it my life mission to go hate on pineapple on pizza. And if I did, there's something weird about that. I should look into myself. Go to therapy and touch some grass. Well.
Again, I feel like sometimes you just dislike something for other reasons, not because you see them in yourself.
Well, duh. I just don't like Hawaiian pizza. Not because I secretly love Hawaiian.
Well, maybe associations.
But see, if you can't stop talking about it, which, by the way, if we're gonna do, maybe we could psychoanalyze ourselves, right? This is our second video that we're making about Wizard Liz, even though we don't know even much about her. Maybe there's parts of her that we recognize in ourselves, and that's why we want to sit here and talk about her and break it all down.
Which, by the way, about that topic, I wanted to ask you. Out of those, okay, we know so far, well, 3, we can say 4 people because we can include Liz's sister into the equation. 3 to 4 people. Out of those 3, so Liz, Abby, Landon, and Liz's sister may or may not be in the list. Who do you sympathize and or empathize with the most, and who do you hate the most?
Well, I don't feel like I hate any of them, and this is genuinely, by the way.
Or like, who do you dislike?
I kind of feel like
you have this visceral reaction.
I feel like I kind of feel sorry for all of them in some way. But the sister, oh my goodness, like, she scares me. Does she not scare you, Sabina, the sister? Oh my god. Like, she really, every time I see a picture of her or a video of her, oh my god, like, she scares the shit out of me. Like, I mean, they both kind of look like lizard people, like the Sabina and Liz.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think they both look a little bit like lizard people? Like these
sleazy.
weird, the way they made those cheekbones. So I don't know if it's because they've had just so much done, or what is it? Because I feel like we haven't seen any of them, when they haven't had things done. Because even when people try to share like old pictures of Liz when she supposedly didn't have anything done, she had like huge freaking lips. Where she was claiming at the time, apparently, that just because she had like acne and she was using Accutane, that's why her lips swelled up. But people are saying like, yeah, no. First of all, she doesn't look in those pictures like she has any acne, first of all. And second of all, people are like, yeah, I was 13, 14 as well, and I was using Accutane. Like, no one's lips were like, none of us had lips swelling up like that. That's ridiculous.
But also, why not just say nobody's gonna judge you? My God, there's like so much. There's
like they
so
just have
much
to
content.
lie and lie and lie. Also, by the way, did you notice that fans are asking, like, how come Liz hasn't deleted her pictures with Landon? Like, is she like planning to get back with him? Because she doesn't want to sell the ring anymore. She said that it's because she's legally not allowed to, which no one's buying that. And also,
Right.
people were like, how come you're not deleting pictures with him? Are you planning to stay with him? And her sister is like, well, she can't delete those pictures because she has a contract with Instagram. And people are like, what?
Whatever that means.
It doesn't mean anything. No one has a contract with Instagram where they're not allowed to delete their pictures. Like, literally no one. Even like the biggest influencers, smallest no one. It's like they just, I don't know why. It's like they apparently just feel the need to lie every step of the way for no good reason.
But okay, out of those 4 people, who do you sympathize and or empathize with the most, if you had to pick one, and then who do
Okay.
you feel like you don't like them, you know, like visceral reaction, like you don't like them the most?
Okay, so I feel the rating should be, because none of them I feel like I really like and trust. I can't say that about
Obviously.
any of them. So all of them to me are kind of God. I don't want to say, well, mm,
Okay,
I'm
if you
trying.
had to pick,
I'm
you
trying to
if you
find
had
a
to pick
word. Like
one
I'm trying
person.
to find the best word to describe this when I'm about to rank them. Okay, so this is okay. I think I found the right word.
Okay.
All four of them to me are suspicious.
Yes.
So I'm going to go from least suspicious to the most suspicious. Or should I
Yes.
start with most suspicious? Which one
It
should I
doesn't
start with?
matter.
Okay, so most suspicious to me, and like she again scares the shit out of me, the sister, Sabina,
Sabina. Okay.
scares the shit out of me. I don't know why. Also, they both kind of look like Michael Jackson. And like, Sabina is more towards, because I think they both like got rid of their noses, and it's just like, and then they got those
Yeah.
cheeks, and then they did something like that to their eyes, and then they
Yes.
inflated their lips, and then they just gives them such a, I don't know, scary look. So Sabina is first on that list of like the most suspicious and scary to me. Like, I don't know, freaks me out.
Okay.
And then after that, number two is Liz, and then Landon, and then Abby. Because at least Abby and Landon, they at least look like humans. I don't know if it's because of the facial stuff that Liz and Sabina did to themselves, or what, or because they're just so aggressive, or like, this is how they talk always. This is like, I'm like, God, girl. And then they have
Yeah.
the nerve to teach anyone about feminine energy.
Right.
Meanwhile, they both sit and talk at you like this. And I'm like, ew, who is listening to this? It's scary. It's scary. They scare the shit out of me, both of them. At least when Landon and Abby talk, they talk like normal human beings. They look like normal human beings. And by the way, at least both of them, both Landon and Abby, at some point try to go to couples therapy, individuals therapy with an actual real licensed therapist. It seems like at some point they actually try to address like what is wrong with me in with our relationship. Let's like, even though we both, apparently come from a very tumultuous background,
Yeah.
at least let's genuinely try to work this out. I don't see that from either Liz or Sabina. Both of them are just like, use him for money, just use him for money. Like,
Well,
I
I mean,
can't.
I can't say that they were genuinely trying to fix things because, it's kind of like, I don't know, you can't find a psychologist who's just gonna agree with you
Well, see,
and
they
pay them.
actually went to a psychologist who didn't agree with them, meaning that Landon wanted to convince, apparently at some point, Abby that she had BPD, but the psychologist they found, she said, no, I don't think you have BPD. And in fact, apparently that psychologist ended up telling Abby, you can, yeah, maybe you should, go do better things with your life.
Right. No, that could be true, but also I feel like if I say, "Oh, I've been to therapy," so I feel like it's kind of a power move that you make to
Sounds to actually, I feel like this is a good time for you to now. You should give your list of,
my list. Okay, my list of like people who I most sympathize slash empathize with.
hmm
The most would be first Liz.
okay. hmm
First Liz. Second, second, London.
hmm
Third, Abby. Fourth, the sister.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, maybe this is where our differences are coming from. Oh, by the way, I forgot to say, because I was just gonna say, for you, Liz was number one, and for me, it's Abby.
Right.
By the way, did you see that picture of them again? I'm gonna put it somewhere here. So Liz claims that she had no idea about Abby, and yet, she never, she has zero interest in her partner's exes. But again, Reddit has kind of documented that she has a history of stalking her ex's girlfriend. So in the picture, it shows that, how Liz, right after she got into a relationship with Landon,
Mm-hmm.
did you know that she bleached her hair blonde?
Was it before? I thought it was during.
Right, right. It was right after she got into a relationship with Landon. So people are saying, given her history, that she actually has a history of stalking her ex's girlfriends. It seems like she was trying to, Abby is
Oh.
blonde. So she was trying to be this blonde girl. And apparently Landon had some anime fetish or something. And that she was trying to fulfill. She was like, if he had this ex and he has this
Mm.
anime obsession. Maybe I should go and try to do this blonde girl thing. So she went through that period at some point.
Right, that's why I was texting you because people were commenting. Actually, if you go through the comments, they were commenting long before when she dyed her hair blonde, and then later when she had a fringe,
Right, right.
and people were saying like, you're experimenting too much. It feels suspicious, and they were commenting this like way, way, way before. You can see the timestamps. So they must have seen something. Like, this doesn't seem healthy.
Right. I also saw her with like the weird bangs and they made her look, so weird. I was
I
also like,
know.
what are you trying to do here?
And
And
that's what, yeah.
we also know that she was kind of desperate for him at this point because again, 2 months into knowing him, she was like, she would just not stop talking about them having babies together.
But like, desperate for what? I don't understand. Like, what was she desperate for?
Well,
For a baby?
I feel like we've always been through this. I mean, we've already been through this that, she claims to be, some of her fans call her a millionaire and she tries to portray this image. But as we know about all these red pill life coach guru grifters, that most of them are not who they portray themselves to be. Most of them are not rich. They want to look rich to impress young guys and girls, but they're just not. It's all, a front. Meanwhile, they're
So,
freaking desperate renting things. There's also been a situation where, at some point in Switzerland, I think it was before this whole scandal broke out, Liz was trying to portray this as this, like, this, oh, this is going to be my home for the next, this is where I'm going to live. It's so beautiful. She was just trying to portray this again as this, like, look at my amazing life kind of thing. But then
uh-huh.
when the scandal broke out with her and Landon, she was like, you had me living in all these Airbnbs, moving from here. You made me, like, drop my apartment. I was like living in all these Airbnbs, moving here and there with you. And so basically that was at the same time that she was at this Switzerland place where like it was just an Airbnb, but she was trying to portray it as though this was like, she was like, this is my new home now.
oh no. Okay, that feels a bit much.
I know. So it's all pretense. It's all, a smoke screen. She's not rich. She's not successful. She's not high
But they
value.
must have
She's none of these things.
law. But they must have some like money now in the bank account. Like they must.
I feel like you're still, kind of simping a little bit for Liz and even Abby when you're like, she has this beautiful life. She could have left Landon. I don't know. I just feel like it's just that's people. Instagram is not real life. This is not how these people actually live. A lot of these people, especially pretty girls who themselves don't own, businesses and assets,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times they're getting by. They're getting by. They're allowed to be on that yacht. Meghan Markle was a yacht girl at some point. Apparently, there's pictures of her.
Oh.
But she wasn't rich. If someone was looking at all those pictures, they could have thought she was rich, but she was not. She was, an actress barely trying to make it hand to mouth in Hollywood. So it's not like, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I would think that they have something. They don't have to be
In
like
fact,
rich.
In fact, do you think these girls would be with these men who they themselves have said are ugly and unattractive?
Mhm.
Do you think they would be, if you were a beautiful girl, would you be with a guy you find ugly and unattractive unless you were desperate? Which, by the way, even this Abby girl, she was apparently with this guy named Zaid something. Have you seen that stories that Landon published where Abby, tried to get an NDA? She tried to get Landon to sign an NDA at some point, and she claimed that it was because she sent him some nudes of hers, and that you, Landon, know too much about me or something like that. She was trying to send him. And then Landon was like laughing and all the messages are there. And Landon was like, oh, what are you talking about? and then Landon was, is that because you're trying to, is that because Zaid or the Z guy. I'm gonna put his name in all those messages. So yeah, are you trying to just protect this guy? And he was saying that I think that kind of heavy set older big married guy that obviously if you're like a young girl like Abby or Liz, you're not gonna go for that guy unless he's rich. So he was like, are you trying to protect that guy? Because he was like, is he the one making you sign an NDA? And now that you've told
Uh-huh.
me all about that guy and what's going on between you guys, is that why you're trying to sign an NDA with me now? And apparently that Z guy, Landon says he deleted his Instagram profile right after Landon started airing all of this dirty laundry out there.
Oh my God, those
I know.
people, Jesus.
I know. So again, going back to my question to you, do you think these women like Liz and Abby would be dating all these overweight, married, old guys that they don't find attractive unless they were desperate for money? Of course, they're desperate for money. Of course, they're not as rich and successful as they're trying to portray themselves.
Well, no, okay. I feel like not as rich as they try to portray themselves, true, but still have something, have some resources, no? Like they're not poor. They're not like dirt poor.
Which, by the way, you're the one who, kind of brought my attention to this whole wizard list story. And I feel like there's
Mm-hmm.
a reason because, okay, you're younger than me, right? And I feel like you just have a little bit of maybe like less experience of just, knowing what people portray on social media and how they actually live.
I mean, no, but I'm sure they're not poor. They're not like dirt poor, thinking about what am I gonna eat tomorrow kind of poor, you know? Like they have resources. because of their social media.
And maybe that's where, you make a mistake.
What do you mean? Are you saying they're poor? I don't think so.
I just don't think, it seems like you imagine them to be way more.
No, but okay, no,
It's not something that they're not. You're imagining them to be something they're not, and it's just
no,
not true. Like,
I understand that they're not as
do you know?
rich.
So you probably know at this point that Lindsay Lohan's mom has been arranging her to meet with all sorts of men in Dubai for monetary benefits. And you probably at the time, or you might be thinking, what the hell? Like, doesn't she, like, she's Lindsay Lohan even at the time, because she's been a world famous child actress since like 7 years old. And so you probably thinking, well, surely someone like Lindsay Lohan is not as desperate at like 20 something years old, to have all these arranged monetary rendezvous with these men, Arab men in Dubai. But yet, no, they are desperate. There are people who have been on television, by the way. There's this guy who was on this thing called Kate something. Like they had lots of kids. Again, I'm gonna show it somewhere on the screen. Like he was like popular not only in the United States. People knew at the time. Everyone knew him. Even I knew his name. All around the world, people knew his name. And he was, at some point, he went to work as a cashier at a grocery store because he was like, that's how broke I am. And he was on television. Liz and Abby are nowhere near being on television. This is how it is in LA. This is how it is in show business. This is how it is on the screen. And influencers, by the way, they're nowhere near the screen and the showbiz. They're like, we're talking about that guy that I'm talking about who was on reality television. He's like, maybe he would be called kind of like a D-list celebrity. Liz and Abby are nowhere even near a D-list celebrity. Maybe Liz can be called like some Z-list celebrity. Abby is like nowhere even there. So these people are struggling. A lot of them are struggling. It's like kind of how, people think that OnlyFans girls, how even on Joe Rogan, they're like, oh my God, did you know these OnlyFans girls, like they're buying houses, they're making millions of dollars, and that's what people think. But did you know that 99% of OnlyFans girls don't make shit?
They're not successful. Yeah,
they're broke.
Of course.
They're broke. They are desperate. They're desperate. And it's just what you're saying right now to me sounds like, the way like a random guy would say, oh, aren't you an OnlyFans girl? Aren't you guys making millions of dollars there? It's just like, that's not how real life works. These people are desperate. They're desperate.
No, I know that like OnlyFans, yeah, most of them don't succeed. Most of them don't earn anything from the OnlyFans.
It's the same thing with most of these Instagram models. It's the same thing with these TikTokers, Instagram girls. That's how most of them are. The same with the Hollywood stuff. We just see, the actors who made it. We just see like the 0.001%. We think they're, just racking in millions just out of their exposure and fame. But most of these people with fame and exposure, 99% of them are poor as fuck. They're not making shit.
Yeah.